My name is Macy McCammon, and I am standing in the colonial to early 19th century section of Crystal Bridges Museum in Bentonville, Arkansas. The painting I selected was done by Mary Cassatt in 1894 in Paris, France. It is an oil on canvas titled Summertime. It was painted during the Impressionist movement. Many of the artists during this time period painted everyday scenes rather than posed portraits of people. This particular scene is a woman and her daughter floating in a boat on what appears to be a lake or a pond overlooking the swimming ducks. This portrait has the look of being sketched on the spot. It has a very distinct composition due to the fact that it pays equal attention to the focus on the landscape as well as the figures. All of the blue, red, orange, and green brushstrokes contribute to a rippling effect on the water that captures our attention. The ducks are also amazing because of the way Mary Cassatt makes it seem as if they are actually moving towards the boat. The blues and greens of the sky make us imagine we are actually sitting on the bank of this cool afternoon. Mary Cassatt showed an interest in Japanese influence, and many of her paintings reflected that. This is due to the asymmetrical arrangement of the painting, due to the fact that the boat is at the right side of the painting and is cut by the frame. Also similar to the Japanese works she studied, Mary Cassatt makes the background just as significant as the foreground. Pictured in the scene is Mary Cassatt's best friend, Miss Louise Elder Havemeyer. It is known that friendship is expressed a lot in this Impressionist time period, which is likely why Mary Cassatt would choose one of her closest friends to paint. As Mrs. Havemeyer and the young girl lean over the edge of the boat, peering into the water at the ducks, they are in very close proximity. This closeness represents a warm and emotional relationship which allows us to believe that this child is Miss Havemeyer's daughter. Also, almost all of Mary Cassatt's pieces of art revolve around the relationship of mother and child, which furthermore suggests that this girl is in fact Mrs. Havemeyer's offspring. Mrs. Havemeyer and her family lived in New York, however they traveled to Paris several times, and on one of these trips is when this portrait was likely painted. Mary Cassatt's Summertime is very characteristic of a painting done in the Impressionist era. Impressionists were very much like realists, however they were more concerned with optical realism and the natural properties of light. She used very tiny brushstrokes that were visible to the viewer. It has a very open composition, using the background as an essential part of the painting. Also, you can tell by the way the water reflects the light what time of day it is. To begin this painting, Mary Cassatt sketched the outlines of the main figures of the boat, the two women, and the ducks with the color diluted in turpentine. She would then fill in the basic colors of these figures. The background and water appear to be an array of different colored brushstrokes side by side, but they are actually built up with several layers of paint one on top of another. To soften and blur these colors, she would take a dry brush and drag it over wet colors. To create a perception of depth, Cassatt used various bright colors to create multiple reflections in the water. All these different techniques Mary Cassatt used allow her to capture the light of the sun on the water, the movement of the ducks in water, as well as the atmosphere of the painting. During the 1890s, most of her paintings involved this sort of naturalism that suggested a pure, elemental, and non-sexual image of childhood. 1 year before Mary Cassatt finished Summertime, she also completed the work The Boating Party. The Boating Party also features a woman and her child in the boat. However, in this image there is a male rower, which is rare in Mary Cassatt's paintings. This portrait is most likely also taking place on the lake behind Mary Cassatt's chateau in France. This image is different from Summertime in many ways. First, in the boating party, the main focus is the boat along with its passengers. They are in the direct center of the picture plane and are the biggest objects. This differs from Summertime, in which the landscape and water is the central focus while the boat is off to the side. This is possibly due to the fact that the woman in this photo has obviously hired the man to take her out on a boat ride. You can tell this by the difference in extravagance of clothes they are wearing. The horizon line of the boating party is much smaller than that of Summertime's, which further accentuates the main figures. Mary Cassatt was a women's rights supporter, so this may be the reason the women is pictured very big and in the middle, and also why her face is showing and not the male's. In both paintings, the mother and child are grouped closely to harbor a sense of affection inside the viewer. The water in Summertime shows more reflection and therefore seems to appear to be moving. Cassatt used a variety of colors, including reds, yellows, blues, and greens. In contrast, the boating party's water consists of very bright blues and greens and has a much more vibrant appearance. I chose this piece of art because it really caught my eye when I walked in the room. It was a very sentimental and warm feeling and just makes you feel like you are in some sort of sanctuary away from the outside world. Also, the environment in which they are in is so inviting and welcoming. Much of the artwork at the museum was of battles, wars, or disease, or many unpleasant things, and this painting just seemed to be a breath of fresh air.